Welcome, everybody. It is June 11th, Thursday. Happy birthday to my sister, Stacy, if she's watching. And I know I am live because Jessica Leamy just shared the video to me. Welcome, everybody. It is was a rainy day outside. Maybe it stopped raining here in New York City. I hope it's nicer wherever you may be at this moment. Let me say hello to the squad, who I have not seen in 24 hours, my favorite part of the day. Mintu Saab on Facebook saying, Daca update, please. Get to that in a minute. Cordella Douglas, squad up family. She was out of the hospital. I hope you are feeling better, Cordella. Deion Watson, squad up. Christine Bennett, squad up. Latoya, his forever. Pitterson, still with him. Deion Watson, squad up. Sasha Ford, Forrest Mushy, what's up? Violet Blackwood, Jessica Levy, as I said, Lisa Bling Rose, screaming it out. Squad up, Uncle Brad and your crew that doing a great job behind the scenes. Thank you very much from everybody on the crew. Deanna Moore, how are you? Jesse Charles Richard, I hope all is well. Are you guys open for appointments? If not, how soon? We are open for appointments. You can call the telephone number right below that screen where you see it says call Brad for a consultation at 1-800-529-5465. Internationally, the number is 1-212-227-8933. You can call and we can speak to you over the phone. Our office will probably be open another week or two in any event. But in the meantime, we're helping so many people over the telephone. It's the same as meeting me in person, quite frankly. Definitely call. Don't wait on your problem for our office to open. Let us solve your problem now. Jewel Delph, how are you? Stargirl Mika, Mintu Saab with 2 immigration questions. Does the I-360 get interviewed? We'll get to everybody. We'll get to both of Mintu, just jumping right in. Doesn't even say hello, Mintu. Doesn't say squad up. Jumps right into the immigration questions. No fooling around with him. Simon Wolford, squad up. Nancy Abel, how are you? Violet Blackwood, I think I said Violet, but if not, hi again. Chris Kelly with a question also. What is the chance for someone with a domestic violence record receiving U.S. citizenship? All right, let me start answering immigration questions. People are just jumping right in. Domestic violence is a deportable offense. If you plead guilty to a domestic violence, it's deportable. Just because you are deportable doesn't mean you can't prove 5 years good moral character. They can only deny your citizenship if you're actually put in deportation. You can't become a citizen if you are put in deportation, but if you have 5 years good moral character and you're otherwise eligible for citizenship, you should become a citizen. You're going to definitely need the help of a lawyer, but the chances are very, very good. And let me just go back to, because I promised Mintu, he wanted to know update on DACA. Right now, they're accepting DACA applications. The Supreme Court had a oral argument on it, and we will find out sooner rather than later what the Supreme Court has to say about DACA. Let's keep our fingers crossed. As far as I-360 could be a lot of different types of cases. The most well-known of the I-360s is your VAWA, your abuse case, but an I-360, there's about 15 different reasons to file an I-360. But the answer is, assuming you are discussing an I-360 as it relates to a VAWA case, the answer, Mintu, is yes, you would need an interview. Let's see what else. Chris Kelly, I talked about domestic violence. And Deanna Moore, I think I said hello to. And Joan Grant. And by the way, Mintu correcting me. He said he did say hello. It was the third comment. I guess I didn't see it. My apologies, Mintu, if you said hello first. I'm a survivor. How are you? And Geraldine Liege, what's going on? Let's see what's happening on YouTube. YouTube right now, we got 41 people watching, only 11 thumbs up. Please, if you're watching right now, turn those gray thumbs blue. I really would appreciate it. Of course, we always know there's this one guy who always turns the thumbs down. One guy. What can we do? But let's get a lot of thumbs up, guys. We have a lot of people watching on YouTube already. Sexy Shan Meyer saying, hey, Brad, how are you? Alyssa Henry, squad up. Dion Journey, squad up. Sweet Dot. Squad up. I like that name. Back it up, Ricky. What's up? Tracy, Lacey, Ruban Thakador, Janice Williams, Keisha, Charles, squad up. And D, phenomenal reasoning. D, phenomenal reasoning says, hi, Brad and the Brad squad. Kiss McLeish. Kiss Meet McLeish. I think it's Kismet McLeish. Saying, hey, Brad family. Elizabeth Darby, how are you? Maritu Bangura. She says, I like the show. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Dion Journey, how are you? Tracy Lacey, I think I said already phenomenal reasoning with an immigration question. If I did my interview in the first week of February 2020, and I still don't hear from USCIS, is it normal wait time? Should I reach out? You could always reach out. You're supposed to hear within 120 days. So if it's more than 120 days, yeah, you can reach out. Nothing bad will happen to you by reaching out. But I think at some point, if you don't hear, you may want the help of an attorney. Our telephone number being at the bottom. Jeremy Goldberg, part of the crew. And he's saying it's Poetry Thursday. Let's see what Jeremy has. It is poetry today. You know what's sweet and also kind of neat? Brad and Brad Show Live. What a treat. Thank you very much, Jeremy Goldberg, with another fabulous poem of the day. Ruban Thakador asking a lot of questions about from his friends. He can't have all of these. You cannot possibly have all of these problems, Ruban. So he must be asking for a friend. He says one of his friends after asylum was granted, went to a third country, and also his fiance came from the third country, from his home country. So if they married in the third country, the USA Embassy overseas, can he accept it? Yeah, you can get married in a third country and then file for your spouse. Absolutely. Marin Welday, hi, sir. Is it normal to have a second time a stock interview? A Stokes interview, I assume, not a stock interview. Nobody's interviewing you about your stock picks, but maybe a Stokes interview. Is it normal? It happens a lot. I don't know if it's normal. A lot of times they don't believe it's a bona fide marriage. So it certainly happens a lot. 29 Super C says, hey, Uncle Brad, can you tell me if the Department of the Bureau of Labor recently announced that another 1.5 million people filed for unemployment last week? That is, I believe, what they said. Yes, although the unemployment rate is going down, supposedly. And what else do we have here? That's it for right now. Let me remind everybody, if you are watching on YouTube, I would love for you to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And if you subscribe, you would get notified every time we come live. If you're watching on Facebook, please like and follow us. If you like this show, like it. If you want to follow the show and want to be notified every time, yes, like and follow. And also, you'll become a member of the Brad Squad. If you like and follow both on Facebook and you subscribe on YouTube, you can join our Brad Squad group page on Facebook and just say hello to Jilly. She is the manager of the Facebook page there. Also, if you want to get in on our Instagram free consultation giveaway, you can find Bouncing Brad. If you find Bouncing Brad on Instagram at Brad Show Live, you can tag 5 of your friends. It's a Bouncing Brad this time with the confetti cannon in the background. There it goes off the confetti. And you can tag 5 of your friends, like that page, and you may be pulled out of my scratchy old hat next Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we give away a free consultation. Leave your immigration questions in our comments section when we get back into our studio. Obviously, I'll be taking lots and lots of telephone calls. I'll be speaking with you. We haven't really transferred that technology yet to my dining room table. Maybe we should have. I didn't realize we were going to be here this long, but now we're holding out to go back into our studio. So we will be taking calls shortly once we get back into studio. But in the meantime, please leave your questions in our comment section. But if for whatever reason I don't answer it, you can always follow me at Real Brad Bernstein. If you follow me at Real Brad Bernstein, you can drop me a DM in my direct message, and I'll try to answer it as best as I can. And with that being said, let's start something we like to call Schmoozing with Brad. So it was announced today that the Trump administration is proposing a new regulation that would make it even more difficult for migrants to claim asylum in the United States. According to a draft rule released by the Department of Homeland Security, the latest proposed rule, which still needs to undergo a public comment period, it's not going to take effect immediately, includes a change where an individual's asylum claim could face greater scrutiny if the person traveled through at least one country while on the way to the U.S. The Trump administration has already applied that rule to people traveling and applying for asylum from the border in Mexico and Latin America. But now the rule is going to be widened in scope to anybody who applies for asylum. The draft rule states, quote, the department believes that the failure to seek asylum or refugee protection in at least one country through which an alien transited while en route to the United States may reflect an increased likelihood that the alien is misusing the asylum system as a mechanism to enter and remain in the United States rather than legitimately seek urgent protection. Now, the proposed regulation also says that living unlawfully in the United States for more than a year prior to filing for asylum would be considered a significant adverse factor, despite the exceptions that currently exist. So right now, the law requires you to apply for asylum within 1 year of seeking to do so. Probably how that rule is going to work, that third country, if somebody travels to the United States to apply for asylum at the airport in the U.S., but it doesn't take a direct flight, but maybe flies through Germany or another country to change planes to come to America, you may now be denied asylum under this new rule because maybe the government's going to say you should have applied for asylum in Germany. And even if you do take a direct flight here to the United States, you have to apply within 1 year, which has always been the rule. But there has always been a rule that says if something has materially changed after 1 year, something has changed, then you can always apply later on. So, for example, I see this happen a lot. Somebody enters the United States, is a homosexual and living in the closet, hasn't come out yet, and then comes out years later, and as a result gets threatened if they go back home. That's something that has changed since the first time they came to the United States. That would be a case where you would still be able to file for asylum. Now they're saying the fact that you lived here illegally for more than a year would be an adverse factor. So I don't know what's going to happen with these rules. I don't know what's going to happen with the presidential election in November. The rule is set to be published on June 15th. There's going to be a comment period, and then it has to go into effect. So none of this is going to go into effect right away. And it probably, if Biden becomes president, will never go into effect. If Biden does not become president, somehow Trump wins, this will go into effect sometime next year. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Meanwhile, President Trump told reporters on Wednesday that his first campaign rally since early March is going to be held on June 19th in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But the location of the event, Tulsa, which just marked the 99th anniversary of its infamous race massacre, and the date, Juneteenth, that is the holiday that commemorates the emancipation of the slaves. It's noteworthy given the ongoing protests against racism in the United States. Representative Karen Bass, a Democrat in California, chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus, said the decision to hold a rally on June 19th is, quote, disrespectful to the lives and community that was lost during the Tulsa race riot. She added, this is ridiculous and yet another slap in the face of Black people. Meanwhile, General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said Thursday that it was a mistake for him to participate in that photo op where President Trump staged outside the church, where he tear gassed and rubber bulleted all the protesters. He held the Bible up backwards. He said it was a mistake to participate in that walk in uniform. There you see him there in the picture in the uniform. He is a top general of the United States of America walking with Donald Trump. We have some video of Miley talking about it.
I should not have been there. My presence in that moment and in that environment created a perception of the military involved in domestic politics.
Now, he added that we must hold dear the principles of an apolitical military that is so deeply rooted in the very essence of our republic, which is what I've been saying all along. Once you have the military participate in a political process, you are now politicizing the military. This is what fascist and communist governments do. This is not what happens in elected democracy. In an elected democracy, the military stays apolitical, stays out of politics, doesn't take a side. Yet Trump is pulling the military onto the Republican side, which is a big, big problem, which is why everybody was really concerned, besides the fact of the military is not capable of being a policeman, and also was very worried about unbelievable amount of death and injuries if Trump called in the military to start patrolling cities. But also it would create the impression, and it would be the impression, that the military is taking a side of Republicans, or Donald Trump, certainly not all Republicans, but certainly Donald Trump, over the side of the protesters. So I'm glad that that never happened. I'm glad that the military stood up to Trump and said, we're not participating in policing protesters. That is a local police situation to have happen. Meanwhile, President Trump's 2020 presidential campaign, not looking good right now. I wish the election was tomorrow. Biden would win by 20 points, but it's not for another 5 months. So everybody's just hoping that Biden stays in his basement, doesn't say anything stupid, and Trump keeps putting his foot in his mouth. But now Trump is now demanding, this is actually pretty funny, that CNN apologize for releasing a poll that has Vice President Joe Biden leading him. Trump wrote a letter to CNN. It's a stunt and a phony poll to cause voter suppression, stifle momentum and enthusiasm for the president, and present a false view generally of the actual support across America for President Trump. What world is this guy living in? There's not a lot of people supporting President Trump right now. Not to say he could win the election, but he doesn't have a majority of anybody at this moment in time supporting him. This is actually gaslighting, where President Trump does this all the time, where he just actually turns reality around and makes you believe that you're the crazy person. No, of course I'm leading in the polls. What? So CNN's general counsel, David Vigilante, responded, to my knowledge, this is the first time in 40-year history that CNN has been threatened with legal action because an American politician didn't like the CNN poll. Added Vigilante, to the extent we have received legal threats from political leaders in the past, they have typically come from countries like Venezuela or other regimes where there's little or no respect for free and independent media. Meanwhile, the Minneapolis Police Department, they're going to withdraw from the police union contract negotiations, faced with calls from activists and a majority of city council members to dismantle or defund the department. Chief of Police Madeira Arredondo said that he would now use a new system to identify problem officers early and intervene. At a news conference, he said, we will have police department that our communities view as legitimate, trusting, and working with their best interests at heart. Well, he's got to say that, because right now the Minneapolis City Council is trying to disband the police completely. So he's trying to save his job and the job of many policemen. So of course he's going to say that. Arredondo said he's taking a deliberate pause to review the union contract as the first step toward change. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how you don't have police. I personally am not of the defund police. I am of the let's change the budget of the police, perhaps. Let's revamp the police so the police work for us. Let's do better training. Let's give the police a different mission. Let's take away military hardware from the police. I don't think the police need the type of military hardware that they have right now, but I'm not in favor of no police. No police means not a lot of safety for lots of people. So I'm not in favor of that. Meanwhile, Starbucks is pivoting, and they're closing 400 stores in the United States and Canada away from its traditional model. The company said it's now reevaluating how to sell coffee. They're going to be opening up now new 300, besides pivoting and closing their 400 stores, they're going to be opening up 300 new stores that only will do carry out and pick up options. In an email to CNN Business, the company said that about 80% of transactions at 15,000 stores are on the go. They have lost over $3.2 billion in revenue in the third quarter of this year. Now, what's amazing about Starbucks as a company that I find just by just studying their business model is, you look at Starbucks and you say, Starbucks, yes, is in the business of selling coffee, but to me, what Starbucks is about is they're selling real estate, in the sense that you get a coffee because you spend $5, $6 for a coffee at Starbucks. It's extraordinarily expensive for a cup of coffee, water and a couple of coffee beans, and they're charging $5, $6 for a cup of coffee, literally. And you can go and brew your own coffee for 10 cents. You can go to a local diner or here in New York City, the push cart guy on the street corner for 50 or 75 cents or even 99 cents or $1 and get a coffee. They're charging 4, 5, 6, 7 times what the going rate is for a coffee, and people are buying it. So why are people buying coffee? This is just my opinion. I mean, I'm no business analyst, but why are people buying $5, $6, $7 coffees when they can go buy $1 coffee? Is that coffee so much better? It tastes so much greater? And so, Starbucks, to me, they're not only selling coffee, but they're selling real estate. They're selling a place for you to sit down and have your coffee and sit there all day and do your work. So to me, Starbucks is selling real estate. They're not selling coffee. Coffee is just an after. That's how they make their money, by giving you the coffee. But they're really selling you real estate. So now that they're changing their entire business model, I don't know. My guess is perhaps people aren't going to spend $5, $6, $7 for coffee to go. They can get $1 coffee somewhere else. So I wouldn't be surprised. Listen to Uncle Brad. Wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing on these, certainly on the over the course of time, on the to-go Starbucks, that the prices are going to go down a little bit. The coffee prices will go down a little bit at Starbucks. Just my opinion. I don't know for sure. Now, according to statistics from the Johns Hopkins University, there's now over 7.4 million coronavirus cases worldwide. In the United States, over 2 million people have been diagnosed. The American Civil Liberties Union, along with 2 other immigrant advocacy organizations, they filed suit on Tuesday against the border restrictions related to coronavirus. In March, as coronavirus swept across the country, the Trump administration invoked a public health law that allowed for the swift removal of migrants, including children. The ACLU, Center for Gender and Refugee Studies, are now challenging that order. They said that, quote, this lawsuit's going to raise for the first time where the government can close down the border to seek protection based on an assertion that it's necessary for public health. So we'll see what happens with that lawsuit. I think it's going to be interesting what happens there. Now, as a number of coronavirus cases continue to increase worldwide, and more than a dozen states and Puerto Rico are recording their highest averages of new cases since the pandemic began, hospitalizations in at least 9 states are also on the rise as it refers to coronavirus. In Texas, North and South Carolina, California, Oregon, Arkansas, Mississippi, Utah, and Arizona. Whew, I said that without taking a breath. There is an increasing number of patients under supervised care. So many of these states have experienced an increase in cases, also have an increase in hospitalization, with a handful of states nearing bed capacity again. You're not seeing that in the news, but we may be on the cusp of a second coronavirus wave. Now, we'll see what happens. I hope that's not the case. I don't know if you saw this in the news or not, but a Ghanaian football player, he ended up living in an airport in India for 74 days. I found that amazing. It was like that Tom Hanks movie. A Ghanaian, I forgot the name of the Tom Hanks movie. There was a Tom Hanks movie where he was living in the airport too. A Ghanaian football player who slept in the Indian airport for 2 months finally made it home. His name was Randy Juan Muller. He turned 23 this week. He flew to India for a 6-month contract to play soccer for the ORPC Sports Club in South India. But as the coronavirus pandemic spread, he took a train to Mumbai. And when he arrived in Mumbai on March 21st, he was low on cash and couldn't find a room. He said, I didn't know anyone in Mumbai, so I saw some policemen and told them my story. They told me to go to the airport. So 3 days later, Indian Prime Minister Modi announced a 21-day nationwide lockdown. So then all the international flights were stopped, and this guy's stuck at the airport. So he said that people in the airport were helpful. They gave me food. They helped me a lot. One security guard even replaced his phone after it was damaged. Now, Mullah called the Ghanaian consulate in Mumbai, but says he was told there was little anyone could do during the lockdown. I never got worried, he said, because I knew one day I'd go home. I tried to stay strong and motivated. There are things in life you can never change. And by the way, the movie with Tom Hanks was called The Terminal. Thank you, Julie Bean. Meanwhile, this was kind of funny. I don't know, kind of funny, but it was certainly unusual. Thousands of people gathered in Portland, Oregon on June 2nd, and they welcomed an unusual ally in the protests for George Floyd. And the unusual ally was Caesar, the no drama llama. Now, Caesar's handler, Larry McCool, told Today, we wanted to show solidarity with everybody up there. He just brings love and spreads the love. While McCool and Caesar marched around 3 miles of protesters, hundreds of people stopped to hug the 5-year-old llama activist. Caesar loves meeting new friends, according to McCool. He has a temperament as a dog, and it's a myth that all llamas spit. Said McCool, they have to be angry, mad, hurt, or stressed before a llama is going to spit at you. So Caesar has no reason to. He's there for a good time for all. And finally, I don't know if you saw this or not, but there are some Black nature lovers that are busting stereotypes. And one of them, and they're doing it one bird at a time. So now, nature lovers are stereotypically portrayed as being white people, but there are Black people who love nature just as much. So Black Birders Week is a series of events and activities designed to highlight Black scientists, scholars, and everyday nature lovers. While spreading their joy and knowledge, the countless people involved in the movement are also raising visibility of Black achievement at a painfully critical time. The event was conceived by a group of Black STEM professionals and students who share an online space called #BlackAFinSTEM. Now, STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and the dozens of people in the group hail from all different kinds of disciplines within that sphere. But when Christian Cooper, a Black birder in New York City, was threatened by Amy Cooper, no relation, the white woman in Central Park, and she was called Central Park Amy, their focus turned on the avian-minded among them. Within days, a group of organizers had come up with a whole week's worth of ways to support and encourage the Black birding community. The Audubon Society, the National Park Service, and countless other organizations have boosted their work, introducing social media to a whole realm of cool birds and new discoveries. Anna Gifty Opuku Ajiman, one of the organizers of the event, said, the importance is normalizing the fact that Black people exist in the birding and natural sciences community. People don't understand that Black people exist in other contexts other than the ones they're exposed to. The visibility is a master key that can open all kinds of doors for Black scientists to succeed and for the world to benefit from their success. Wildlife biologist Alex Troutman said, people assume just because we're Black, we don't like the outdoors. People don't talk about the Buffalo Soldiers who were among the first to care for national parks. They don't talk about Black ranchers. The biggest thing that we want people to see is that nature is for everyone. The movement's organizers are hoping this visibility leads to job opportunities for all of the talented people participating. I just want to say one thing about bird watching. I walk through Central Park a lot. If anybody follows my Instagram, I just actually took some pictures. I thought were pretty pictures of Central Park, and I see lots of people, actually Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, all looking up, watching birds. And I don't know. I must be blind. I stand next to them within social distancing, and I go, where are we looking at? What bird am I looking at up here? What are we trying to see? And they're like, point, and they go, there. And I don't know what the hell we're looking at. So I tried to be a naturalist. I tried to enjoy watching birds. I don't know what anybody's looking at. All right. With that being said, that is our schmooze for the day. We got to get into our immigration questions. And by the way, in a little bit, I'm going to be talking again with Cecil Williams. He was An amazing, amazing interview. He was part of our civil rights movement in the 1960s. He's opening up a museum for civil rights. That is him there, very famous from that picture from him drinking in the whites only water fountain. He had a lot to say about a lot of different subjects. So we'll be talking to him in a little bit as well. I also have to remind everybody that if you're watching on Facebook right now, this is the time to start your watch parties. Let everybody know that I'm going to be answering their immigration questions to the best of my ability. If you are watching on Facebook, also share this. There's a share button right underneath the comment section. We have 135 comments. You can share this publicly to your page, share it to a group. You can copy the link and send it in a WhatsApp to your friends. Let them know that there's free immigration help right now coming your way. And on YouTube, the same thing. You could share this to your group of friends, either on another social media network, or you can copy the link and send it in a WhatsApp too and tell your friends, hey, Brad's answering immigration questions right now. Now's the time to check in to Brad Show Live. Also, please, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, on YouTube, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. So that way, every day you know when we come on live. If you like our show, you're going to want to hear it every day. And on Facebook, also like and follow. Finally, we all know about Bouncing Brad. It's at Brad Show Live. If you want a free consultation with me, tag 5 friends on at Bouncing Brad with the confetti cannon in the background, like that post as well. And if you don't get your immigration questions answered, you can always drop me a DM on at Real Brad Bernstein on Instagram as well. You see our telephone number scrolling on the bottom, 1-800-529-5465. That's the number to call if you would like to have a consultation with me, personal one-on-one. And we are ready to go. Something we call, you got an immigration question? I'm going to try to answer it. We got something, Lee? All right, let's see what we got here. Start on Facebook. And I answered that, the domestic violence. Okay, our first question, Stargirl Mika. Brad, how long does it take to get a 601A waiver approved? It's taking over a year right now, believe it or not. It's a long, long time. I'm a survivor. What's the latest on the H-1B and L visa bills before the House? I don't know. I haven't actually honestly been following it very, very closely. And the reason is I don't expect any immigration laws to change until after the election. So I have not been paying a lot of attention to it, unfortunately. Debbie Ann White, squad up, Uncle Brad question. I've been laid off due to coronavirus. Will be going back to work in August. How do I answer employment status in affidavit of support? Well, you can hold off the affidavit of support until August 1st, and then you can write employed, or you can write employed and put in parentheses on the affidavit of support, job beginning August 1st, and then submit it now, one or the other. Mintu Saab saying, I am awesome, love your show. Thank you very much. Wahid Khan with a question. Hello, sir. My individual court was in March, and your judge said bring the medical report, and I give them the same month. After that, I got nothing, meaning court date or anything. That's a statement, not a question. I don't know what's going on your immigration case. Perhaps the judge is now going to make a final decision on your adjustment of status. I assume when he's asking for a medical report, you're filing an adjustment for an immigration judge. So perhaps that was the final document required to adjust your status. I'm not sure where you are, but I assume that would be the case. If I'm wrong or you're not sure what's going on, because I don't know enough information, you would need to have a consultation with me. That's the best I can assume based on the little information you're giving me. Vince Hoga, I had my interview on December 13th of last year. I haven't heard back. What should I do? What was your interview for, Vince? Was it citizenship? Was it a green card? Who sponsored you? How to go on your interview? I don't know anything about what your case is about. So I don't know what to tell you what to do other than there's a telephone number below. It's called 1-800-529-5465. That's what that telephone number is called. That is a telephone number to call me in my office. I could have a consultation with you and we can go over your case. I don't know what to tell you to do other than that because I don't know anything about your case unless you want to tell me more. Conru says, thank you for answering my question yesterday. My pleasure, Conru. Renato Reed says, hey, Brad, if you and your wife don't pay rent, will that be a problem at the interview? I don't think at the interview that they would know whether you pay your rent or not, other than I doubt that your landlord's going to give you a letter saying that you live there. So you're going to be going without a landlord letter. But short of that, I don't know how they would know whether you pay your rent or not. Sasha Ford, I was wondering, you came through Canada from India, then US. Why not stop in Canada? I'm not sure who she's referring to. Gordon DGs, Uncle, you're the boss. You're the best. DJ Khalid's voice. Thank you very much, Gordon. Ione Russell, Brad, since COVID-19, how long does the process take to become a citizen? I don't know because we're still in, there were no interviews for several months. So I don't know, but my guess is that they're not getting a lot of applications now, even though they didn't schedule anybody for interviews. So my guess is, say, 6 months, 9 months, somewhere in there. Let's see, I lost my place here. That was the court date. Sasha Ford, Ione, I answered. And Sasha Ford, just with some political commentary, the 45th is delusional and will go to any length to win. I'm not putting it past him. I agree. Shauna K. Pert, did you hear that Starbucks is blocking people from wearing anything that says Black Lives Matter in their store? I never heard that. I would find that extraordinarily doubtful if that is the case, because Starbucks is generally considered a progressive liberal company. The owner of Starbucks is also considered progressive and liberal. So I doubt that, but if you know of specific instance, I would love to see that because I never saw that. I doubt it, but anything's possible these days. But please give me more information on that. Let's see what else we have here. Hi, Brad. This is from Trudy McCook. If someone without a social security number can get a tax number and how? Yeah, you file a tax return, a 1040 return as an independent contractor. You attach a W-7 form to your 1040 return. The W-7 form is the application for a taxpayer identification number, and your taxes will go through and the IRS will send you a taxpayer ID. The only way to do it is by filing a tax return. Let's see. Sheila Lavielle Collier says, hi, Brad. My friend filed the adjustment of status with a pending VAWA through the Chicago lockbox on May 1st, 2020. She has still not heard back from USCIS regarding receipt notice. Any idea what the problem might be? I don't know what the problem might be. I've heard this from many people now that they have not been getting receipt notices, but if she filed an adjustment of status, she had to have paid $1,225 filing fee. If that filing fee check was cashed, either by money order or the check, then you know your case is okay. If it's now, 5 weeks and it hasn't been cashed, don't freak out yet. If it's 8 weeks and still hasn't been cashed, that's when you start freaking out and calling me. And again, Baba Femi Akanugbi, also waiting on the lockbox to open back after submitting the I-751, also has not received a receipt notice. So I think this is a lot of people. So why don't we wait an extra couple of weeks and see what happens before everybody freaks out. Shanice Burns with a question. Hi, Brad. What are the options? If you enter the U.S. on a B1, B2 visa, but was asked to work as a nanny. The employer decided to sponsor schooling, accepted in a university to receive I-20, now getting verbal abuse. I'm not sure what you're saying. You're working out of status on a B1 visa. You're getting abused by your employer. I think you need to come speak to me, and we will figure it out. I don't have the answer. I need to know more what's going on. Meanwhile, Jill said, yes, that is true. There is a news site that says that Starbucks is prohibiting employees from wearing clothes supporting Black Lives Matter. I am shocked. I can't believe they would do that. How stupid of Starbucks. I'm shocked of that. I'm going to read more about that, and maybe next week we're going to talk about it, because that actually is shocking to me. That would be very disturbing to me if Starbucks is saying those type of things, or preventing people from wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. Black Lives Matter shouldn't be a controversial. What's controversial? Black Lives Matter. It's not a controversial thing. Of course, Black Lives Matter. Why wouldn't Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter less? Well, how is that even controversial? So I'm very surprised at Starbucks, but we'll look into it. Certainly, it's the first I'm hearing about it, and we'll look into it, and I'll talk more about it next week. Jeanette Valls. Hi, Brad. If my work permit needs to be renewed and has been expired for 3 years, also I have VAWA on my case, will I have a hard time? No, if you already have VAWA approved, you will not have a hard time, even if you haven't renewed it in 3 years. Vici. Hi, Uncle Brad. I'm a U.S. citizen, and I was wondering if it is possible for me to submit the Form I-130 petitioning for my mother. Yes, absolutely. If your mother's in another country, that's how you would be petitioning your mother. Vince Hoga with a question. I applied. I think Vince asked a completely different question before. He must be asking for everybody sitting next to him. I applied for political asylum. Decision has been pending 398 days. I had my Vince is now telling me a little more about what interview he went on. He applied for political asylum. Decision has been pending 398 days. He had his interview December 13th. He hasn't heard anything back yet. Don't know what to do. Also, can I travel abroad to Europe if I need to do a tour for my choir? I would no, because if you leave the country, you may not be allowed back unless you have a re-entry permit, which you would not be able to be granted unless you get approved for the political asylum. So you can't get the re-entry permit till you're approved for asylum. If you leave, you're not going to be allowed back. So do not go to Europe at this moment. Why you haven't had a decision in 398 days? I don't know enough about your asylum case. Now we need to have a discussion about your asylum case. Now you need to call that number below, and then we'll figure out perhaps a mandamus. Hi, Uncle Brad. How you doing? Can you say when Social Security office will open? It depends on where you are in the United States, but there are not in New York City. It's not going to be open yet, but perhaps certainly soon. I don't know if Social Security offices are open in other parts of the United States, but I'm not 100% certain when they'll be open, but hopefully soon. Conru. Hi, Brad. I'm an ACD 17055 with community service. The case was dismissed after 6 months. If it was an ACD, that means it is not a criminal conviction for immigration purposes, Conru. You're fine. Victoria Rodriguez with a question. Hi, Brad. Hope all is well with you. Can I petition my single son, age 25? I'm a conditional permanent resident currently on extension. Yes. People always think that because you have a conditional green card or your I-751 is pending, that you can't file for your adult children. You can. You can file an I-130 and F-2B petition for them. You are a permanent resident of the United States. You could have filed even 2 years ago. Do it now. Sasha Ford with a question. Hi, Uncle Brad. If someone won the free consultation, can they give it to a family member? Absolutely, Sasha. It is completely transferable. You can even sell it if you want, but I'm going to give somebody a free consultation. Let's go over to YouTube and see what's happening on YouTube. Let's answer some questions on YouTube. Let's see. 29 Super C says, hey, YouTube squad, let's click that thumbs up. Thank you. We have 113 people watching, only 52 people click that thumbs up. And Rupan Thakador, yes, confirming my suspicion. Thanks, Brad. Yes, sometimes I'm asking for my friend. Thanks again. 29 Super C, Joseph Lira. Yeah, and by the way, who said this? Was it Tally or 29 Super C? No, it's 29 Super C said, thanks, great Uncle Brad, to hear that you're gonna be soon back in the studio. Yes, and when we're back, I'm gonna have Yo-Yo, I'm gonna have Nesquik, and we're gonna have the whole crew back. I can't wait for that to happen. You know, it's lonely talking by yourself here. You want to be able to talk to people. It's lonely that I can't even take telephone calls. So I'm really looking forward to getting back in the studio to speak with the squad on the show so we can take some calls, and also to talk to Yo-Yo and Nesquik. They're a big part of the show that we've been missing out on for the last 2 months. Joseph Lira with a question. I'm filing VAWA case, but my lawyer is saying he can get me a fee waiver. Should I just pay the filing fee to avoid the delay? Yes. If you have the money, file it, because how do you have a lawyer and you pay a lawyer but you can't afford the filing fee? Come on. I don't go for that. So pay the filing. Not that I don't go for it. I mean, it's great to save money. I don't go for it in the sense that, you know, immigration's gonna call BS on you. So you're better off. And then once they start calling you BS on you, then they start not believing a lot of other things. So in my opinion, if you afford to hire a lawyer, pay for the filing fee. It's $1,225 and get your case moving. Abdo Alim. I had a 10-year ban after deportation for overstaying my visa. It ended already. My wife applied for the L1 visa. Should I be her beneficiary? Should I wait until she gets her green card? You can be her beneficiary, but you're going to need a waiver. You need a waiver for the prior order of deportation, which would be a 212 waiver. So yes, you can come, but you need a waiver. Tally says, welcome everyone on YouTube. Please hit the like button underneath the live. Thank you very much, Tally. Kingsley Hardwood. Hey, Brad, when will the USCIS resume I-45 interviews after they closed on COVID? It's going to be momentarily. I would be very surprised if in the next 2-3 weeks we start hearing, if we don't start hearing people starting to get interviews. Seema Rahman, my I-130 and I-45 has been pending 42 months. USCIS came one time to my house in Alabama, asked questions to me and my wife. Second time called us to ask questions. So if I move to New York, is that going to help me on my case? If you move to New York with your wife, we can transfer the case to New York and you'll get another interview. If you're going to move to New York and your wife's staying in Alabama, that's not helping your case. You're separating from your wife. So I don't know who's moving or what you're doing. Kismith McLeish. Hi, Brad. What are the options if you entered the U.S. on a B1, B2 visa, but was asked to work as a nanny employer, decided to sponsor? Oh, I asked that. You asked that on Facebook. And apparently you came on a visitor's visa, and then the employer put you into school to keep you in legal status, but you're working illegally and you're now getting verbally abused. You need a consultation because you're violating your visa status anyway. Abiola Agadoki. My mom overstayed in the United States and has filed for an extension for her. I put her international passport in the paperwork. Is that a problem? Why would you ask for an extension if she's already overstayed? They're not going to give her an extension. Never submit the passport. It's going to be very difficult to get back. So both of those things were a no-no. Sounds like you need a consultation. Anna R. Kig. I am in a fix. My heart is broken. My I-45 was denied because of misrepresentation and my I-130 is approved. What should I do? You need to file a waiver if there was a misrepresentation. They should have given misrepresentation was for lying about my marital status in the visa application. Okay, so what happened was when you came to the United States and you applied for your visitor's visa, you claimed you were married when you were single. And that was one of the ways that you were able to get the visa because you showed you had ties to your home country. So when you came to the United States and now you file your adjustment of status application, you say this is your first marriage, and you show up to the interview and they say, aha, you claimed you were married in whatever country you're from. And therefore, it's misrepresentation. You say, no, 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 I have proof I was never married in my home country. Here it is. Well, you still lied to us. Misrepresentation. And now they have to give you an opportunity to file a waiver. So hopefully they did, and you need a good lawyer to help you file a waiver. You happen to be looking at a good lawyer, so give us a call. If they've denied you and they're not giving you an opportunity to file a waiver, then you're going to have to file a new I-45 with the waiver. One way or the other, we got to fix it. Jerry Stewart with a question. Brad, if a permanent resident is filing for a spouse, if he or she takes a loan to go to college or applies for a grant, would that be considered a public charge? No, getting a loan is not public charge. The reason why it's not public charge is because the loan is not need-based, meaning that they only give the loan to people below the poverty guideline. No, they can give a loan to a millionaire too. So just because you get a loan doesn't mean it's goes against the poverty guidelines. It goes against the poverty guidelines when the benefit that you're getting is based on the fact that you're below the poverty level, like Medicaid or food stamps, things of that nature. D. Gore, Brad, my 15-year-old son's I-130 was approved. He has a visitor's visa. Can he come to visit for 2 weeks, or is it best for him to stay put for now? If he has a visitor's visa, he can come. I doubt they'll give him a problem at the airport, but certainly there's always that possibility. I think maybe perhaps you want to have a consultation with me and we can talk about the pros and cons of him staying put versus coming for a visit. Cardo Simmons with a question. My daughter has a 10-year green card with USA on it. She was not born here. I sent it to change, got back something when she traveled. Will it be a problem? My daughter has a 10-year green card with, I don't know what, with USA on it. Her green card says she was born in the United States? Well, how could she get a green card if she was born in the United States? She wouldn't be a permanent resident. She'd be a citizen. So that is obviously a mistake. What you should do is apply for an I-90 to replace the green card and get it done correctly. Seema Rahman, I answered that question. Asghar Khan, hi, Brad. Great job. Your program is very informative. Thanks very much. Thank you. My question is, the National Visa Center accepted all my documents on the 22nd of January, but no interview as yet from the embassy. Why? Coronavirus. The embassies are closed because it's coronavirus. So everything is backed up, unfortunately. Let's see what else. Jocelyn Sanchez. My husband had an arrest in 2009 for a DUI, but his case was dismissed. Will this affect him now that he's waiting for an interview for his visa? It shouldn't. If his case was dismissed, it should not affect him. Francois Nahima. Hello, Brad. My friend is an LPR for 7 years. He has a 2-year DUI and a domestic violation. What can he be? Can he be eligible for citizenship? Well, two DUIs is not good moral character. Domestic violence is a portable offense, so he's got big problems. I would be more concerned about him being able to live in America than filing for citizenship at this moment. So I think the best thing to do would be to have a consultation before he does anything. And that goes for everybody. I mean, if you have criminal records, you shouldn't be filing any paper or doing anything on your own. Deborah Chow has a question. My I-129 approved, but then my lawyer said he was waiting the I-360. When I asked him for the receipt number for it, he said it automatically goes to I-360, so he doesn't have that. Is that possible? Well, the I-129 is a non-immigrant visa. The I-360 is generally done for an abuse. So I'm not sure how the non-immigrant visa and the abuse case is together. Are you talking about the I-485? Are you talking about an I-130? I'm not sure what we're talking about here. I think you're getting your forms wrong, or there's something completely screwy here, Deborah Chow. Maybe you need a consultation. Maria Joe, hello, Brad. I had a Stokes interview for adjustment of status, and now I filed removal of condition. My husband received food stamps. Also, we don't have a lease together, but we live together. Help. Well, as long as you live together and you have a financial relationship, that's all that matters. The fact that he gets food stamps is not going to affect you on you removing the conditions of your permanent residence. The fact that you don't have a lease, it's not a positive thing, but hopefully you have other items to show that you're in a bona fide marriage. Bona fide marriage is you live together and have a financial relationship. Financial relationship starts with having a joint bank account and paying all your bills out of that bank account. And all of the money that your husband earns and all the money that the wife earns goes and commingles in that bank account. And out of that bank account, all the bills get paid, including your tax returns that are filed jointly. That's how you prove a bona fide marriage. So the fact that you don't have a lease is not indicative of whether or not you have a financial relationship. It is a small piece of evidence to that effect, but it is not in of itself definitive of whether you are in a real relationship or not. Manwar El Jab with a question. Hello, Brad. Is a trespass warning, can it affect the renewal of the 10-year green card? It cannot. A trespass should not affect renewal of the 10-year green card. It could always go against good moral character for citizenship. I would need to know more about what happened. That would be the N400 portion. Angela Jimenez, hi, Brad. Can an adult who overstays their visa receive their green card in the USA? U.S. citizen father is the petitioner. Only if the adult is 245I eligible, which means that either you or your father had a visa petition that you could have been included in, filed before April 30th, 2001, and you were physically here, or your father was physically here on December 21st, 2000, or anything filed before January 98. I'll give you two perfect examples so you understand, because that was a mouthful. Let's say grandma filed for your dad in 1995, and you were 19 years old at the time. So you were on that case in 1995 for 2 years until you turned 21. That was filed before January 14th, 98. You never got your green card. You came to the United States on a visitor's visa. You overstayed your time. Your dad eventually became a citizen. He's filing for you. You're 245I. You're grandfathered under 245I because you were a derivative beneficiary on grandma's approved case back from 1995. Take the same exact story, except dad wasn't filed for by grandma. Dad married a U.S. citizen in 1995. Well, if dad married a U.S. citizen in 1995, then you are not included on that application. You are not 245I unless the stepmother, your dad's wife, filed for you separately. So 245I is very confusing, but in certain circumstances, you could be 245I and pay a penalty fee, but otherwise you would have to do a provisional waiver, go home and come back, which is not a horrible thing to do. We do it all the time. I've done it over 1,000 times in my career. Everyone goes, everybody comes back. We're going to be answering more immigration questions in about 5 minutes or so. But recently, I want to get this interview, and it was so important. I recently spoke with Cecil J. Williams. He's an American photographer, publisher, author, and inventor. There he is right there. A very famous photo of him drinking out of the whites-only water fountain in the 1960s. Now, Cecil has documented the civil rights movement in South Carolina. In this iconic photograph, Cecil is 19 years old, drinking out of a white-only fountain. He is now 82 and the founder of the Cecil Williams Civil Rights Museum and Institute for Social Innovation in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Cecil has had an incredible life and career, and we discussed a lot during our interview, which will be posted in long form on our Brad Show Live social media pages. But we thought we would play a shorter portion of our interview on the show. Today, Cecil discusses what it was like growing up Black in the segregated South and how the modern-day civil rights movement began in Somerton, South Carolina, just 30 miles away from his hometown. Let's watch. It's a great honor for me to have Cecil J. Williams. He's an American photographer, publisher, author, inventor. He's best known for his photography documenting the civil rights movement in South Carolina beginning in the 1950s. Cecil is now 82 years young, and over the course of his lifetime, he has taken over 600,000 photos. In the summer of 2019, he opened the Cecil Williams Civil Rights Museum and Institute for Social Innovation to house hundreds of images and artifacts from the civil rights movement. Now, Cecil joins me today to discuss his experience growing up Black in the South, his career covering the civil rights movement, and his thoughts on the state of race relations in America today and the protests that are going on. Welcome, Cecil. As I said, it is an honor to have you on our show. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming.
Well, it's my great honor to be here, and also that I'm having this interview by you. It's my great pleasure to participate.
So where were you born? Where were you raised?
Right here in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Fortunately, they haven't run me out, so I'm still living here today. My favorite place to visit, of course, is New York. Everything always draws me back to Orangeburg, and I'm still here. All my life I've been here.
Tell me what your background is.
I am a child of segregation, having grown up in the South, in the deep South, in fact, and in an area that, of course, embraced segregation and rigid laws affecting people of color. My father was a tailor, and my mother was a classroom school teacher. So I come from that kind of background.
Tell me what it was like growing up pre-civil rights movement in South Carolina.
Well, I think about 5 years old is my earliest recollection of maybe something to do with race. I remember I loved automobiles, and my mother gave me $1, and we entered a 5 and 10 in downtown Orangeburg. And after paying 78 cents out of the $1 the mother had given me for purchasing my car toy, the clerk slammed the change down on the counter. And afterwards, I kind of asked her, what was that all about? And she began to explain to me the fact that people of color were treated that way sometimes. I think the clerk resented us being there, and we did nothing to make her slam my change on the counter, but anyway, that was the kind of way.
And you went to a segregated school?
All of my life.
What was that like?
I think I had a very happy childhood. Of course, often we did not have the books, the facilities, and other things that would have refined my education. However, I did receive a very good education. I think that my teachers showed a lot of interest in me. I think that I had a very happy childhood. Often we got the secondary or secondhand books. Often there were names in the books. So the resources we had, of course, rely on, often they were out of date. I think that if I had access to better educational material, I could have become more aware of things as they transpired. Another thing were, of course, the facilities that we were educated in. Often they were substandard. I think they did have indoor plumbing.
And a lot more money went to the white schools than the Black schools.
Yes.
What did you miss by not being able to mix and associate and become friends with other children that didn't look like you?
I would have been able to broaden my perspective and really be able, from the interchange of from pupil to pupil, been able to have a better idea of just being together with other people. So we missed that.
Right.
There were times when African American or people of color would then play with children of other races. The communities did overlap, but not having the shiny playground equipment and not being able to go to the local library, again, so that I could broaden my experiences and my reading about subject matter. There was a soda shop, however, and I remember around 8 or 9 years old, the owner of the soda shop would allow me to read the photography magazines that often were unsold. And I was able to broaden my experience.
Tell me what your thoughts about the state of race relations, the state of the United States right now.
Well, I feel that what has happened recently kind of brings out what happens when you have at the administration level, hatred being the byproduct of so many things. But to focus on people of color coming in through our southern borders, we've never done that same thing with Canada. We've never done that same thing where other people are coming in, sometimes legally or illegally, into the United States. And the demonstrations and the protests going on now in Washington, I think it is directed at the right place because that was where this hatred began. An administration and a president that does not seem to want to come to grips with the fact that we are all Americans. We're all one country and we all want the same thing. But we are still held back by, again, some bad police and law enforcement. And it's always been there, such as it was with the Orangeburg massacre where 3 students were killed. And again, the lack of respect for people of color, for the lack of respect for really anyone. I'm so very proud to see that everyone is joining these marches and demonstrations. The violence we can do without, but that's always the risk of anything. You see, the American Civil Rights Movement, unlike the Boston Tea Party, have some kind of weight, and it is within our rights and our guidelines and the laws of this nation that protests is a form of showing resentment and displeasure at some way of governing. And again, for the President of the United States order, my parents had endured the system of segregation, rigid segregation,
Right.
and also legal segregation, where there are laws on the books that govern Black and white people. The movie theaters were segregated, churches were segregated, of course, and other facilities. And often, again, we had substandard facilities available to African Americans, but not the newer places, the better equipped places. For example, audio-visual equipment, which I would have very much liked to have during my middle school years, a motion picture projector, a slide screen projector. Often they weren't available, but were readily available in the other schools.
You wanted to be an architect.
The only university in the state of South Carolina that I could have gone to receive a degree in architecture was Clemson University. When I sent my interest to apply, they never did even reply back to me. I did go, however, to Claflin University, which was a great decision as well, because it was there I was able to not only become the official photographer for the university and get a stipend for taking pictures for the yearbook, but also hone my craft. And then at 14 years old, continuing my work after having been selected by Jet Magazine to be a correspondent for them.
When did you realize that accommodation doesn't work?
We're talking about a period of time here in the 50s now. It was beginning to really be very evident that in order to really become first-class citizens, that perhaps in education, this might be a good place to try to move that forward. The civil rights movement, in my opinion, really began only 30 miles from where I live, because it was there that people in the community of Clarendon County, Somerton, South Carolina, 30 miles from Orangeburg, started a protest and a boycott and a petition that is called the Briggs versus Elliott petition.
Were they asked to end segregation?
Initially, they were just asking for better facilities, but the second and third petition turned into the first suit against segregation in American schools. That case, combined with four others, the one from Topeka, Kansas, being the one that stood out and one that most Americans know about mostly, is called Brown. But it was the Briggs case that was the first case. And so we learned from that in Orangeburg, and having friends and family that came from Clarendon County that sort of ignited, they were really the catalyst of protests against segregated institutions.
Cecil Williams, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So on Monday, we're going to hear more from Cecil, and he's going to be discussing how he began his photojournalist career at age 14 years for Jet Magazine, and some of the major civil rights events he covered as a photojournalist. And you could find out more about Cecil Williams and the Cecil Williams Civil Rights Museum and Institute for Social Innovation by going to www.cecilwilliams.com. All right. With that being said, Brahim Okafor with a question on Facebook. Hi, Brad. Will I be considered out of status if my green card 18-month extension notice has expired before my interview? What should I do? No, you are not out of status because you have not got an interview in 18 months. As long as that I-751 is pending, you are a permanent resident. You've never been a day without being a permanent resident. You can always go make an InfoPass appointment and go down to your local immigration office and get a temporary stamp in your passport. But you are legal status right now, so don't worry. Nelson Nicholas. Hi, Brad. I have an appeal my case with a money order, and after 15 days, USCIS sent back my package and said I have to use a personal check. So they rejected my case because I didn't use a personal check. I I never heard of them returning a case because you didn't use a personal check and a money order. So maybe you filled out the money order wrong. I'm not sure. You need a consultation before you lose on your right to appeal. Is Yesmi PJ, is the I-751 taking more than 18 months? Yes, almost 2 years. Did they give an extension? Yes, they will give you an extension. Go make a local InfoPass appointment. Kamani Rupnarine asked this question 75 times. I will answer it. I have a question. My son is a green card holder in New York. Would it be a problem if he stays more than a year out of New York? He could live anywhere he wants in the United States. It would be a problem if he stays out of the United States for more than a year. But he can live wherever he wants as a green card holder. If he has a 2-year conditional green card and the 2-year conditional green card is attached to his bona fide marriage, he and his wife should be living together anywhere in the United States. But as a green card holder, you can go wherever you want. Shanice Burns with a question. Hi, Brad. What are the options if you enter the United States on a B1, B2 visa, but was asked to work as a nanny? I answered that, Shanice. You need a consultation. Let's see. By the way, no, immigration accepts money orders. So I'm not sure why your money order was denied or returned, but they should accept money orders. Money orders is money. Nishay Adita, I have a question. I got an RFE for my green card application. Is responding time extended by 60 days? It is extended by 60 days if the RFE was mailed to you in April or May. If it was mailed to you in June, it is not extended 60 days. Janith Inguez, I applied for Medicaid because of the Obamacare. I filed for my spouse, the I-130. What is the chance he gets denied because of public charge? You won't get denied public charge because of Obamacare. Maybe he'll get denied public charge for some other reason, but it's not going to be because of Obamacare. Lynn Shoemaker Sweezy, how do you prove a bona fide marriage if your husband is in another country waiting on a visa approval? Thank you kindly for your answer. Communication, visiting him. How many times have you visited? What is your communication like? That's how you prove a bona fide marriage. Do you send money to help him? Maybe he needs money. Do you send money for his support? Those would be the 3 things that you would prove. Your communication with him, text messages, emails, phone calls, whether or not you send money or gifts to him, and how often you have visited and your pictures together. Let's see what else we have here. Nina Rita Canadu. Hi, Brad. I have a domestic case with my late husband, 2017. The case was dismissed in court. Will this be a problem if I file my citizenship this year? After the case, my husband and I are still together until he passed in 2018. As long as it was dismissed and that was the only time you were ever arrested, you're allowed to have a bad day. So they're going to ask about it. You have to definitely bring your disposition. It does go against moral character, but I don't think that they can say you have bad moral character because you had one bad day with a domestic incident that was dismissed. Sasha Ford with a statement. Thank you, Sasha. Let's see if we have any other questions here on Facebook. Vici just wanted to thank me for answering the question. Let's see, anything else here on Facebook? Sean Williams with a question on Facebook. Someone petitioned with their spouse for the I-751 and found out the spouse was up to no good. Get caught cheating multiple times and wants to withdraw themselves from the petition. You can, absolutely. Natisha Gordon. Hi, Brad. I have a 10-year green card and my son got a 2-year. My lawyer sent it back. I wanted for 2-year and they're telling me that case got denied. Okay, if you have a 10-year green card and your son, did your son get his green card within the first 2 years of your marriage? If he did, then all you need to do is submit a late I-751 with evidence that you have your 10-year card, and they'll give him a 10-year card. If he got his green card after the 2nd year of marriage, then you file an I-90 and say that this green card was sent in error. That's how you fix the problem. All right, let's see what's going on YouTube. A&R Kig with a follow-up. Hi, Brad, me again. in the denial notice, USCIS said I didn't submit a waiver, therefore I'm inadmissible. Does that mean I wasn't given the opportunity to file a waiver? It's exactly what it means. They didn't give you the opportunity. So you need to file again with the waiver in advance. Give me a call. Anvar Abdulsam. I came to the USA without a visa. I was detained. I paid a bond, and I realized after I married, I was abused from my wife. I got a work permit and travel documents. I'm able to go to my country and come back. My asylum is pending. If you go to your country after you file for asylum, then you are a liar, at least to the eyes of the government, because you claimed here and said my life is in danger if I go back to my country, and here you are going back to your country. Think about that one. So I wouldn't do that if I were you. Mulu Nude. Oh, we should have saved Mulu Nude for Hump Day. All right, but Mulu Nude has a question now. Hey, Brad, my I-130 is approved, but on my birth certificate, the city of my birthplace is wrong. But now I have the right one. Is that okay if I submit to an NVC the new birth certificate? Sure, you can submit the new birth certificate. Deborah Chow, the I-360 is for special immigration. My question is it possible to one go from another form without me signing, like I-129 to I-360? No, you have to sign all your forms. So I'm not sure what your lawyer is talking about. Unchi Najaj. Hello, Brad. I received a notice from USCIS that my adjustment of status application has been lined up for an interview. How long does it take before I get the interview date? I don't know how long the line is. It could be 2 months, 6 months, 9 months. I don't know the answer to that. Tomasi Baba, can I extend my B1, B2 visa even if it expires today? You can try to file overnight and hope they accept it late, but you're going to be filing late unless somehow you can drive it to immigration. Well, immigration's closed unless you're in California. You can drive it to immigration before immigration closes in another hour and a half in California, perhaps. Zohaib Sunny, hi, Brad. My question is, how many days will it take to reopen the embassy in Pakistan because I'm waiting for the visa? I don't know. We got to ask Anthony Fauci when coronavirus is going to be up. All right. Those are the immigration questions for the day. I don't know when the Pakistani embassy will open. I have no idea. You know, it all depends on coronavirus. All right. With that being said, we have comments of the day. Let's see what our comments of the day are. Tim Jacques says, thanks, Brad. I love your show. Matteo Bangura, I like your show. Thank you very much. And Asghar Khan, hi, Mr. Brad. Great job, sir. Your program is very informative. Thanks very much. Never Give Up says, hello, Brad. You're doing a great work with your free advice. Alton Dakid, Brad for President 2024. Vote. The squad will be right there with you, whether in home or in studio. Thank you very much. And those are our comments of the day. I will be taking off tomorrow, so you will not be seeing me. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. And I will be back Monday sometime a little after 4:30 with a new episode of Bradshaw Live Quarantine Edition. See you then. Have a great weekend.